Yo, what's going on, everybody? You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Not at the studio yet today. Got a little bit of a later day as the Knicks are going to play the Boston Celtics. We will be live on our Knicks channel. Check us out over there, Knicks Now by Chat Sports. But I just wanted to break down everything that's really surrounding the Giants because, man, oh man, when you think you've hit rock bottom, when you're like, no way this Giants team can be any worse, they say, hold my beer. In today's video, I want to talk about the idea of, do the Giants need to continue to let Brian Daboll and Schoen be the decision makers of this football team? Look, you're going to have a top 3 pick. You actually sit with the number 2 pick right now in the NFL draft. Do you trust Brian Daboll and Schoen to make the right pick there after they just gave Daniel Jones $92 million guaranteed? We'll break that down. Also, I want to talk about the idea of, is it Caleb Williams or Drake Maye? And then I just want to recap yesterday's game a little bit. But first, I got to make sure all of you are subscribed to the channel because no matter where we are, what we're doing, if Giants news comes out, we're going to get you guys a video as soon as possible. So first, look, I do not think the Giants should fire Brian Daboll. I think what he was able to accomplish, what he was able to do in his first year as the head coach of the New York Giants bought him a little bit of wiggle room. Look, we know the Giants have fired 3 straight coaches after 2 years. And I honestly believe that Brian Daboll would not have taken this job if he did not get kind of a handshake agreement from John Mara that if, you know what, shit hits the fan after year 2, that you're not going to fire me. Because I don't think a coach would leave where he was in Buffalo as the offensive coordinator if he knew that after 2 years, if it didn't work, they would just move on from him. That's point number 1. Point number 2, the Giants were a terrible football team last year going into the season. Nobody thought they were going to be good. They overachieved. They played the game the right way. The ball bounced their way. They were great in one-score games. They were able to find ways to win football games. And I think all of that ties into having him literally just have a little bit more breathing room. But I will say this. It does concern me that Brian Daboll, as the head coach of this football team, was brought here to fix the offense. There was a reason that the Giants fired Joe Judge. John Mara said the offense was unacceptable. Jake Fromm, QB sneaks on second and third down. They could not score points. And once again, they are in that similar spot. I understand no Daniel Jones. I understand no Tyrod Taylor. And I understand Tommy DeVito is your quarterback. But this offense is absolutely broken. Another thing that I am a little bit worried about with Brian Daboll is this. There is no way that Schoen would have signed off on a Daniel Jones contract extension. More so, John Mara would not have signed off on a Daniel Jones contract extension if Brian Daboll did not tell John Mara, I can get it done with Daniel Jones. He absolutely said that. They would not have signed him to a $92 million deal if your head coach did not believe in the quarterback. And look, we all thought the Daniel Jones deal at the time was at least somewhat of a fair deal. Sure, they may have overpaid a little bit. Sure, they probably spent too much money on it. But I think any Giants fan would have said, you know what? You won a playoff game. You went on the road. You beat the Minnesota Vikings, who we found out were the worst defense in NFL history. But you did all those things. You were a captain. You were a leader. First guy in, last guy out, hardest working guy in the building, easy guy to root for, no doubt about it. But the fact that Brian Daboll signed off and said, pretty much, he had to say this, I believe that I can win a Super Bowl with Daniel Jones, makes me a little bit concerned on if he can find the next quarterback for the Giants. Luckily for him, the decision isn't probably going to be too tough. The Giants are most likely going to pick inside that top 3. Hopefully they get to number 1. They sit at pick number 2 right now. The game against the New England Patriots in a couple of weeks will probably decide the top of that draft order. And you're probably, if you pick number 2, are just going to take the guy that the other team did not take when it comes to Caleb Williams and Drake Maye. So, yes, I am a little bit worried about Brian Daboll getting final say-so, but look, he's probably going to get the guy that falls in his lap, and they're not really going to have to make a decision. I don't think the Giants should fire Joe Schoen. I don't think the Giants should fire Brian Daboll. This team was not ever going to be built overnight. This was always going to be a multi-year rebuild. I know the success of last year influenced me, it influenced you, and it changed really your viewpoint of what this team could be in the immediate future. I almost wish you could just flip-flop the years of this year and last year. If this year happened last year where the Giants were terrible and they picked inside the top 5, nobody would have said anything because the Giants were expected to do that. But they overachieved, so the expectations were raised and they fell back to the mean and they fell back to the floor of the team that they were supposed to be last year. It's a tough decision. I don't think they should do it. I'll ask you, do you think the Giants should move on from Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen? Look, this is the worst Giants football team I have seen in my 29 years of watching. I know that Jake Fromm team was bad, but this team is awful. They have been outscored by the Dallas Cowboys 89-17 in 2 games this year. They just didn't even look like they deserved to be on the same football field as them. So I'll ask you this question. Should the Giants fire Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen? Type F for fire, type K for keep. I'm going to type my K for keep right now. But maybe that changes with the final 7 games of this season. We will find out. Before we get on to Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, and kind of recap that game a little bit more, I do want to tell you guys about our proud sponsor of today's show, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the #1 leading daily fantasy sports app in North America. And I'll tell you what, with the Giants being awful, Prize Picks at least makes the games on Sunday watchable. If you enjoy playing fantasy sports and you want to play daily fantasy sports and win actual real money, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, use the promo code CLNS, and when you do those 2 things, put $100 into your account, Prize Picks will match that, and they will give you $100. You'll have $200 to play with. It's super easy. One of my favorite things about it. All you do is you create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply choose more or less on their stat totals. The more players you have on your lineup, the higher the multiplier and your payout is potentially going to be. I also love that you can mix together NFL and NBA players onto one lineup card. I'm excited for this week. I got some NBA plays coming up, got some NFL plays coming up. I'll keep you guys in the loop on those with videos later this week. But make sure you guys are hooked up with Prize Picks. One more time, prizepicks.com/CLNS, promo code CLNS. Alrighty, before we talk about the Giants and Cowboys, I just kind of want to talk about Caleb Williams and Drake Maye. That's what everybody is talking about, so let's talk about it. Obviously, Caleb Williams right now is the guy that is projected to go #1, and for good reason. Look, when you watch this kid play football, he pops off the TV screen. He can make every single throw from every single spot on the field. Doesn't matter if he's on the left hash, rolling to his left, he can stop and pop and throw it across the middle. He can throw from the right hash all the way deep into the left corner. He's extremely exciting. He has a little bit of Patrick Mahomes in him. He's got a little bit of Kyler Murray in him. But he also has, I feel like, a little bit of diva in him. And I feel like there is more bust potential in Caleb Williams than a guy like Drake Maye. Look, I need to do more film study on these guys, no doubt about it. So I'm not going to make any declarative statements right now. I need to watch more. But what I see with Caleb Williams is he has generational talent. His arm is incredible. His ability to make plays when the play breaks down is honestly at an unseen clip that we've seen going in to an NFL draft for a rookie quarterback. People are calling him the most hyped and pro-ready prospect since Andrew Luck. The guy is special, but the crying in the stands, the painting the fingernails, the press conference talking about he wants to go home and watch Netflix with his dogs, those are red flags for me. Do I want the head of a billion-dollar corporation to be a guy that is somewhat focused a little bit more on me? Drake Maye, extremely good quarterback as well. I think he would have been #1 pick last year and maybe even the year before that. 6'5", athletic, really underrated when it comes to athleticism. I saw a couple of weeks ago, don't quote me on the stat, but it was like he had the most 50-yard rushing games at the quarterback position since he entered college football. That was a couple weeks ago, don't know if it still stands, but he's able to run the football. He can make all the throws. He reminds me of Justin Herbert. His arm is incredible. I don't think he has the arm strength as Justin Herbert, as he may have the strongest arm in the NFL, but Drake Maye is going to walk in with a top 10 arm in this league. And I don't know necessarily that there is a lot of bust proof in any bust potential in Drake Maye. No matter what, I think he is going to be a solid quarterback in this league. And I think he has the potential to be a great quarterback in this league. Make sure you guys are subscribed, though, because we are going to be breaking down these two prospects from every single angle. We're going to be diving into deep, advanced analytics. We haven't really got to talk quarterbacks and adding quarterbacks on this channel, and I will say I'm excited to do that. I do want to ask this question, though. If you had the number one pick and you're the Giants, who would you select? Is it Caleb Williams? Is it Drake Maye? Type CW for Caleb Williams or DM for Drake Maye. Just want to close the show out talking about that game yesterday. Look, I don't have many more words to say about it. 49-17. Giants didn't look like they deserved to be on the same football field as the Dallas Cowboys. They clearly aren't ready to compete with good teams in this league from a roster perspective, and to be quite frank with you, a coordinator perspective. Mike Kafka, you are officially on the hot seat. Wink Martindale, you just gave up 49 points to the Dallas Cowboys. And when the Dallas Cowboys brought their second offense out there and you kept with your first defense out there, you could not generate stops. I'm a fan of Wink Martindale, but yesterday was embarrassing, and it was one of the worst defensive performances I have ever seen. The Dallas Cowboys yesterday almost totaled 700 yards of offense. Jesus Christ. 640 yards of offense yesterday for the Dallas Cowboys compared to 172 yards of total offense for the Giants. The Cowboys outgained the Giants by 468 yards, the largest total yardage difference in an NFL game in 44 years. The Giants are not just a bad football team. They are a historically bad football team. I don't really have much more to say. We know what Tommy DeVito is. He's an undrafted free agent quarterback that didn't make a 53-man roster. He didn't lose this game because of Tommy DeVito. You lost this game because you're just a bad football team from top to bottom. John Mara, you should be embarrassed, and you should do something about it. We'll be live on the channel in a couple of hours, so make sure you are subscribed. Hit that sub button, and we'll see you later. Let's go Big Blue.